Hey, people. California Times. Oh, here we are. California Times. Guy Meyer. I believe it is June 18th. It probably has great ramifications for somebody, but that is the reality of life on Earth as we know it. June 18th, year of our Lord, 2026. And I don't know how about the Muslim countries feel about this, but I'm glad they salute. Jesus, thank you. I, I can't say things like this on it. Oh my God. Well, maybe you can. I want to just say, people, that social approval, the need for it, and the the self. It's just I'm wearing this hat, even that in sort of defiance of social approval. But I guess I could be walking around in my loincloth or God knows what. I mean, yeah, we're social creatures, so I do keep to some degree within the confines of some society, the society that I imagine maybe. I'm going on, aren't I? All right, to the point. We're going to be talking about the governors of California, the present governor, and the two future, the contenders to be the next. We're going to take a look at Susan Collins, I think. I'm going to try to get that in there, little video. A minute for Obama, and I'm really way overdue for dealing with our dear President Trump. It's sort of he's a challenge. At the moment, we have a deal with Iran, and Trump is shocking the Republican hawks and the security state and poor Israel, apparently. Apparently, I'm just glossing over. I haven't even delved into this at all. The quote was that Trump says Iran has a right to self-defense. Wow. Well, I think Trump does the right thing, maybe after a series of wrong things. Who knows? What a mess. Big mistake from the get-go, that war. I think in retrospect now he knows. Now he knows how much he was either manipulated or maybe social approval again, whatever the powers that Israel held over him, the sway, which has been going on for a long time in America, was working. But let's get back to California. Where we are facing almost just terrible destruction of ramped up over development, traffic crisis, the state Democrat supermajority just lost, and I think the culture is lost really. And actually, that's what I really want to. I want to start talking to the 16 and 21-year-olds. But in fact, I think God Almighty, I'm just going on different directions. I might be taking a vacation from this whole show, so this could be the last. So I'll take a deep breath and just say that when people get their ideas about the world, they fashion a framework that they might take with them the rest of their life. I think a lot of it happens in that early age. Maybe it's a 10-year period. And I've witnessed it for the most part really through just rock and roll and music. That that the kids who were born like in my year, like 51, going way back. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm alive. Graduated in 1970 from high school. A person who graduated in 1970 in high school versus a person who graduated in 1965, 5 years earlier, or 1975, 5 years later, had a remarkably different environment, musical, that surrounded them, and it influenced their tastes and their Black Sabbath versus, cream, but not the verses, because they were really, fairly connected. But, then there's the 80s and power pop, and all this stuff becomes rearview mirror for people like the music of the 60s and 70s. What am I getting at? I'm getting at right now, the kids of this generation, teenagers, need to recognize that the future is very, very, very up in the air. And what necessarily, and I'm going to try to get in there a little bit with a wedge, even your parents, even their perspectives may need refreshing. You need to be an independent discoverer of the truth of today. And the truth of today might not be what your parents believe. I'm telling you that. And it might not be what your teacher believes. But you've got to find it for yourself. And it's not that easy in today's world. You really have to dig. So in California, we've got this mandated housing, which is a crime. It's unconstitutional. I'm going with what the town of San Anselmo, my town where I live, what they said in their appeal. They declared it to be unconstitutional. I think I was told by another councilman that many of the towns and jurisdictions throughout California used that as the basis of their appeal, made the mention of that. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Maybe it was just San Anselmo, but I believe it was in violation of the state constitution that protected the state constitution states in Article 11, Section 11 or Section 7, I'm not quite sure which, basically the fact that that the state is not going to take away a local jurisdiction's power to protect public safety. The state is not going to award some other outside body the right to overrule a local town. It says that. It's in the Constitution. That's a state constitution. In the federal Constitution, excuse me if I hurt your ears, in the federal Constitution, I believe it's the First Amendment, which mentions the redress of grievances as a part of in the Bill of Rights, which is an amendment to the Constitution. Redress of grievances, that any human, we have a court system. We have an ability to appeal. Now, I haven't put forth the lawsuit on the constitutionality yet. I'm told it will take millions and lots of lawyers. I keep thinking there must be much smarter people who would have done it by now. Maybe that's true. Maybe I'm mistaken in my views that this can be overturned constitutionally. But getting back to redress of grievances, I think there were somehow like 800 towns and cities in California who presented appeals. Basically, what went on in Sacramento, they handed every town and county in California a number by which they must approve, permit housing to be built, with this goal of Governor Newsom's of creating 2.5 million new homes in California. That, despite the insane traffic of Los Angeles, as well as the crowded elements of it that make it always a hazard for a variety of reasons, as well as the San Francisco Bay Area, which has overcome LA, I think, as having worse traffic. And that affects a lot of it, and it's not just traffic, of course. There's water, there's fire, there's evacuation issues. It's called overpopulation. Anyways, and the state is overruling all these localities. Their appeals were all denied. There was no even looking at them, basically. I don't think there was one single appeal that was even modified. So that's a violation of the federal Constitution of redress of grievances. I'm going on. I'll maybe have to cut this short in terms of I might have to edit this, so maybe you'll get a piece of what I'm saying. I just heard from a councilman in Marin County who tells me the news from Sausalito about the mandated housing going up in Sausalito. I don't know if you know about Sausalito. It's one of those beautiful little cities on the edge of San Francisco Bay, north of San Francisco, with a incredible heritage of just culture and magic. It's the equivalent of a spot on the Riviera. But California has given all these developers now the rights to build these houses for these. Anyway, so the city of Sausalito, according to the council member I spoke to yesterday, said that they have approved giving the entire Liberty Ship area, it should be designated a national monument. I'm going to have to talk to President Trump about this. Designated a national monument, protected from these developers. It's going to be high rise. All right, let's go to Trump. Let's Donald, I'm going to talk to you one of these days. Mr. President, sir. Okay, let's see here. We got something about Newsom going on here.
Newsom is once again facing criticism tonight after he was found violating state law. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on To The Point. I'm Becca Habiger. This comes after he just accused President Donald Trump and the U.S. Department of Justice of investigating him and his wife. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen joins us to explain the newly announced violation and the governor's response.
Well, Becca, the Fair Political Practices Commission says Governor Gavin Newsom failed to report financial filings on time. These filings relate to behested payments, and this comes as Newsom is currently under scrutiny for behested payments he's made in the past to his wife's nonprofit.
What the FPPC really found here is that Governor Newsom had failed to disclose these behested payments within the required time period. Sometimes it was about double the time period. In other cases, it went from almost a month to about a year.
According to the Fair Political Practices Commission, or FPPC, a behested payment is a charitable donation made at the request or direction of an elected official. Those payments are required to be reported within 30 days if they exceed $5,000. The FPPC says Governor Gavin Newsom filed 36 behested payment reports late for donations made in 2024 and 2025. Most of the money went to the California Fire Foundation during the Los Angeles wildfires.
Even though this is all about disclosure and this is all about just the lateness of the disclosures, that doesn't mean that there's no violation. There will still be a penalty, and it looks like Governor Newsom has still agreed to pay that penalty.
The FPPC says Newsom agreed to a $31,500 fine. The governor's office tells ABC 10 they admitted to being behind on filing the paperwork with the FPPC, citing the main focus being the fires in LA at the time. This comes as Newsom says he is facing a different investigation. He released this video on Monday accusing President Donald Trump of using the Department of Justice to investigate him and first partner Jennifer Siebel Newsom without sufficient evidence of a crime.
That his campaign has reached my own home to get me. He's coming after my wife, Jen, a public servant, a woman who's dedicated her life to supporting women and girls.
The governor's office says they also sent a records request to the DOJ seeking information on the investigation. Republican Assemblymember Carl DeMaio is now asking the FPPC and Attorney General to review the potential use of taxpayer dollars in requesting these records.
And this is a personal case against him and his wife. It is absolutely illegal, absolutely inappropriate for him to be using any government staff time in his defense.
Governor Newsom and his wife have also been criticized over the behested payments made to her nonprofit, California Partners Project. While those payments are not in question in this latest FPPC violation, records show Governor Newsom has solicited more than $4 million to the nonprofit from 2020 to 2026.
But it seems really unethical. It's an apparent conflict of interest to be raising money for your wife's nonprofit. And we're talking about people with business directly before the executive branch.
Records show on each behested payment in question that Siebel Newsom is the governor's spouse.
If the public official's family is affiliated with that organization, you really want to make sure it's a bona fide organization. You're looking to see if it has the indicia of being a real nonprofit.
Again, Newsom has agreed to pay a $31,500 fine for the violation. A spokesperson for the governor's office says they also reported the issue to the FPPC first and that no funds were misused. They want to clarify this FPPC violation is not in relation to the current DOJ investigation that Newsom says he and his wife are being targeted in. Becca.
Well, there's stuff going on there that it's a little bit of an ugly mess, and they're just beginning to poke around in it. Sacramento Bee has done a bigger story on that. Some of these behested, when you get giant corporations that include BlackRock, giant hedge fund people, to give money to your causes, even if they are CAL FIRE, but especially if it's a nonprofit that your wife is in charge of, it seems an incredible conflict of interest on behalf of the people of California, even if it was all just going to CAL FIRE, but by asking, by getting $4 million or whatever it was from I'm just using BlackRock. I think there was 32 other corporations that gave vast amounts of money to Newsom and his altruistic goals. They expect to be treated kindly. They aren't giving this to somebody, it's corrupt, I'd say. It's corrupt. And there's a lot going on here with Miss Siebel, his wife, and himself. Carl DeMaio is doing a better job, doing a good job. I didn't want to say anything negative.
Down for us.
Yeah, breaking it down. All right, let's hear what Carl DeMaio has to say. We'll break it down just a little more.
But then the other shoe drops. Less than 24 hours after Newsom claims that he is the victim of unsubstantiated charges, the California Fair Political Practices Commission, which is the state's independent watchdog agency for ethics enforcement, comes out and says Gavin Newsom violated state law and fined him $31,500 for failing to report millions in those behested payments. So that second issue that I raised of Newsom as governor raising tens of millions of dollars from special interests and businesses with issues before the state, giving it to his wife's charity, who then gets millions of dollars in personal income off of the charity. That stinky situation has already been declared to be in violation of state law because Newsom did not report the payments. Now, you might say, well, maybe it's a paperwork issue. The FPPC, in announcing that Newsom violated state law and fining him $31,500, said, Gavin, you are not unaware of these laws. You're quite aware of these laws. We have warned you in the past that you're not compliant. You have legal counsel. And so you should have reported these payments
on time
to the state of California and to the general public. The donations, here it says, totaling more than $5.6 million across 35 donors are, quote, behested payments. Newsom solicited funding for specific groups from outside companies, including BlackRock, Lockheed Martin, and Apple. So the question becomes, why did Newsom not report the behested payments? Is he trying to hide something? Transparency is designed to make sure the public knows what's going on. If you have nothing to hide, why are you not being transparent? So when Newsom says, I've done nothing wrong, this is all politically motivated, well, here you have the state of California's independent watchdog agency less than 24 hours after Newsom says that he's the victim, coming out and saying, no, he actually broke the law. He broke state law, and we're going to fine him. And again, the behested payments are one of the areas that people have been chattering about. We don't know what the feds are looking at. They could be looking at something totally different. But the areas I just laid out are the...
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I find it interesting. And my first reaction when this was going on was probably like a lot of people. It was like, Trump, you are jumping in and you're not gonna make it easier for Hilton going after poor Governor Newsom like that. And then you realize, geez, it is a big mess there. And apparently the investigation, there was a Department of Justice investigation, according to the Sacramento Bee, the initial investigation began under the Biden administration in 2022. I cannot bring up the Sacramento Bee on the computer screen because they don't like my login for whatever reasons. But it's there. In the meantime, I wanted to see what what the candidates are saying about any of this, or what are they saying about anything of late. And so let's see. What did I have here? I had Becerra and Hilton. And Nextdoor. I wanted to find my post on Nextdoor, but no. No, I looked for something fresh about Becerra, but there isn't anything fresh that he's said since he's won election. On the other hand, Hilton has made a number of speeches, has been in the, been out there campaigning, I guess almost you would, yeah, I guess, yes, guy, you would say that. So let's just look at, this is MS Now speaking about, this is back, I think this is 2 weeks ago, just the news of Becerra advancing.
No chance that if Hilton is the Republican or the second candidate, if he edges out Steyer, there's no chance he's going to beat Becerra. And so whether it's Steyer or whether it's Becerra, there's going to be a Democratic governor of California. And that's the significance of this development.
Jason,
there
what do you
no
think?
Chance,
you agree?
says.
I mean, to be clear, Mr. Hilton has said some, let's just shall we say, problematic things. He is a conspiracy theorist in some respects.
Well, I mean, Trump likes him. That's kind of all you need to say, right? He's going to be a conspiracy theorist. This is the thing. So I spent a lot of time in California, and I watched this as it was sort of happening. And the interesting thing is, most California voters, you had for months like 25, 26, almost 30% undecided, because most California voters just sit back and like, we know we're going to get a Democrat, and they let everybody else sort of fight it out, and then they decide at the end. What happened with Eric Swalwell just made people pay attention about 3 weeks early, right? Because the whole idea of Bianco and Hilton being ahead, everyone's like, that can't possibly happen. Swalwell's implosion, people decided to pay attention. Becerra jumped ahead because he is the least problematic of the Democrats still running. The conversations I have with people...
Well, there it is. I mean, the least problematic. I think that Hilton has a chance to do something unheard of or shocking, and that's to become the next governor. But we'll see. Between Trump and whatever, he might shoot himself in the foot or whatever. I wonder what he's probably already behind a straight poll between the two of them by 10 points, I would guess. He'd have an awful big gap to close. Let me find something at Hilton here. Pause for a second. Let's do this. Okay, Steve Hilton. What do you got, Steve?
Wait, he was asked recently.
Whoops.
On CNN. So today we're going to show you what's going on with this unbelievable, disgusting scandal that's been going on for 35 years here in San Diego, right at the border, the Tijuana River. That is Tijuana. See that big Mexican flag there? That's the other side of the border. If you look around here, you can actually see the border wall. Everything you see on that hill, that is Mexico. Just here, you see a concrete channel. That is the Tijuana River. The water that's flowing there, that is raw sewage, human sewage from Mexico coming into our country, our state, and then it's flowing out into the ocean. And 13 miles up the coast, you got Coronado, the Navy SEALs Elite Training Center. Our Navy SEALs are swimming in raw sewage from Mexico. There's signs all in this area called Stop the Stink. Most people, when they come here, they wear masks. They gave us a mask to wear. It's not just that you can smell it, you can kind of taste it. You can taste the chemicals. You see that foam there, that white foam? Those are forever chemicals, because it's not just human sewage, it's also toxic waste from industrial plants in Mexico. This goes into the air. There's testing facilities there. See those white tents? Defense, they say that the level of toxic chemicals in the air, thousands of times what is the safe level. It is just an absolute disgrace. Border Patrol agents, I mean, you've seen it when they open their shirts, they've got rashes on their body just from operating here. Their boots are melting. To think that this is America. You've got people living around here. They can't open their windows because of all the toxic air that comes in. It's trying to grow produce. You've got ranches. This is a laugh. Tijuana River Valley Regional Park Bird and Butterfly Garden. I don't think anyone's going to come here for the beautiful bird and butterfly experience. So today we're going to show you.
Wow. There's just so much. I mean, I don't know. I'm out in a limb. I'm out in a dream. I do believe that there's a Republican environmental essence in all Americans, in I'm saying in Republicans as well as Democrats. I think there's something about the Democrats and the way their government has done, just with these giant bureaucracies and kind of jamming stuff down people's throats, telling them they have to go, quote, green, which I mean, I wish everybody would go, quote, green, but, quote, real green. I don't know what that means, but it means doing a lot less consumer destruction, whatever. Just stop destroying the planet. And I think it's an American thing, you know, like I try to tell people. Our environment, that's our country. It's the same thing, the environment. Now, EPA, is it just a rubber stamp that, oh, we have the EPA. We don't have to, we just go on our merry way. And all the toxics that are there at our lumber yards, under our sinks, there's no questioning of it. There's no, and then the whole lifestyle, I would say, of our modern culture, and it goes into Republicans as well, but I question it. I mean, I question this whoopee. Here I am flying to the rock concert, you know, my favorite rock band in, you know, Nevada, whatever, Patagonia, Lithuania, there's just everything. It's like we don't know that our actions are, I don't know, it's like the people saving the world are the ones up there in the airplanes, and they're writing, are they writing songs about, like the song I heard, something about looking down at the flyover states? And sometimes I think the Democratic people and us liberal people in Marin County is like the hotbed of it. This is nowhere on earth is there more people who are so completely sure that they're in the right group and they can look down their noses at the flyover states and never grasp that this lifestyle that is everything now, and all our servants that fill our streets, nannies and landscapers, and this is Marin County. Wealth corrupts. I don't know. God, I'd like to have a little bit of it. I guess we all could. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going on. This is probably going to go nowhere, people.